Optimizing.
I don't know if I can perfect it.
Okay, wrong.
Until we have a new.
But that's your ultimate goal, is it not?
Yes.
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
I'm April.
I'm Tam.
Stick around if you are looking to build your first chicken coop. We're gonna share the top 7 mistakes that we made when building our first coop.
So mistake number 1 is waiting too long. For us, it was waiting 7 years. It was always my dream to have chickens. When we bought our house in 2012, I had envisioned that we would have chickens here because we had a lot of land. Well, for us, it was about three-quarter acre. And having chickens here to roam around our yard was one of my dreams. I built a frame for the chickens, and it sat around in our yard for 7 years. So, adding to that, when we got the chickens, we realized how much fun they were. We realized that we should have had them sooner. But, you know, when COVID hit, we finally got around to finishing up the chicken coop and ordering our chickens.
Oh my goodness. They're so cute.
Yeah, we kind of figured when 2020 happened and we were pretty much stuck at home, not doing much. We're like, Tam asked me one day, like, should we? I'm like, well, it kind of feels like now or never.
Yep.
So we decided to jump in. So it's pretty funny that the frame for the original mobile coop was built from scrap pallet wood and was sitting between our 2 maple trees for 7 years before it was finished in the summer of 2020.
It actually sat so long that part of the chicken coop frame sunk into the ground.
It took us a while to dig it out. That was crazy. So yeah, I wanted to add one more thing along with the therapeutic thing. You might think this is crazy if you don't yet have your own chickens, but once you do, you will become crazy chicken people like us. We often will bring the entire family out and put lawn chairs in the run and just kind of hang out with them, have coffee with them. They all have different personalities and are fun to watch and just really relaxing to be around. So we definitely waited too long.
Too long. Yeah, don't wait. You should move in a little more.
Like towards you? Like here?
So mistake number 2. The original chicken run was too small. So back there, before I cut it down and shortened it, it was originally 30 square feet. It was 3 feet wide by 10 feet long. And so where it is now, it has a much bigger chicken run.
Everything behind us is run now.
And as new parents, new chicken parents, we wanted to lock up the chickens every night because, you know, everything loves chickens. And so
not in a cuddly way.
Whenever the chickens went into their coop to sleep, we would go and lock up the doors. The run had 2 doors, one in the front and one in the back. And the actual ramp that closes the chicken coop
is a door as well.
Is a door as well, yep. And we would go in and close all of them. And we'd wake up, let them out, and it got tiring really fast. And then we got electric poultry fencing. And this allowed us to expand the run, let the chickens out of their 30 square foot run. And it allowed them to eat even more grass.
So I just wanted to add sort of how we got from that 30 square feet run to the expanded sort of free range area with the poultry fence. Originally, we thought the 30 square feet was plenty of space. Tam had done extensive research on how much space they needed per chicken and all that. And, you know, when we got the little baby chicks, they were little fuzzy golf balls. There were 6 of them, 30 square feet, seemed like plenty of space. But as they became teenagers, we quickly started to see their personalities develop, who was the boss, who demanded more personal space. And we realized very fast that 30 square feet was pretty small to keep them in 24/7. So that's how we expanded the area with the poultry fence. As Tam mentioned, the the run had 2 doors that could be open on either end. It was supposed to be for cleaning access if we wanted to let the chickens out and things like that. And we adapted quickly to allow them a large free range area protected by the electric poultry fence so that prey could not get to them. And we could open those ends of each of the run and they could have a large free range area, which was an amazing adjustment.
Yeah.
But there was still things to be improved on from there as well.
Yep, and I forgot to add too that one of the flaws with the electric fence was that you had to keep moving it if you wanted to mow the grass.
Yes.
You know, you protect the chickens, but over time, grass grows around the fencing and you gotta cut it.
Right. And the other secondary thing was we still had that run on the ends of the coop so the chickens could run in there to be safe, but when they were out in the free range area, they were unprotected by birds of prey out in a large meadow area, so that was always a concern of ours as well. So at least they had the run, but it was something that we still had in the back of our heads to improve on in the future.
Yeah. Mistake number 3. This mistake is kind of a both good and a bad. What we realized was that it's good because it served both as a door and a ramp for the chickens to leave the coop. The ramp serves as a ventilation as well. It's made with hardware mesh so that air can come up through the floor and escape through the vents through the top of the coop. And ventilation is very important because it allows the humidity to escape from the coop. It also prevents frostbite for the chickens when it gets really cold during the wintertime. And just like the run, it got really tiring trying to let the chickens out until we got an automatic chicken door opener. Before we would come out every morning, every night to open and close the ramp. And yeah, we like sleeping in and staying up late, and having a chicken door opener allowed us to, get our time back. Now, the thing with this chicken door, the ramp, and our chicken door opener, it's the unique design where it's the only one I could find online that was available for us to be able to pull up a ramp door instead of a sliding door, which most coops have.
So this design worked best for us with the original mobile coop to have the ramp also be the door / ventilation system, making use of small space because the door would be closed and seal up the floor at night, and then it would drop down and allow the chickens to come out and go straight into the fully enclosed protected run every morning. So they were never outside of the protected area. So that's how we came up with that specific design and that specific door, and it made the most sense for us. But now that we have adjusted to a stationary coop, that design is taking up valuable real estate inside the coop for roost bars and things like that. When you have a small coop, sort of like a mini house, you have to be very efficient with your space, and you have to think about lots and lots of different factors when choosing where to put certain things. So that is something that we will be dealing with soon.
So mistake number 4. So when we built the coop, everything was going to plan, making the frame, until we added more to it. So the plywood flooring, the nesting box, the metal roofing, the T111 siding, the trim.
Even the feed and the water buckets added weight as well.
Yep. And then we added wheels to it to make it mobile. So the weight of it got too much.
Okay, it's just a moving picture. Wow, there she goes. It's the maiden voyage of the Fluff Butt Hut. Yeah, it was pretty heavy. I mean, we never weighed it, but it was a lot. And we went through a couple different wheel options. So I think originally had Flights of Fancy, how do you say that? That you know, we would be able to use small wheels or bike wheels or who knows. So we tried lots of different options of wheels once we started to sense how heavy this was actually going to be. So again, once it was fully formed and fully put together, lifting it as intended, we realized that it was a little bit more of a project to move it, but then even more so when weather became a factor. All right, so mistake number 5 is considering your own property needs. So ours might be different than yours, but it's definitely something I think we thought we had considered, but just didn't fully realize without doing it first. We thought having a mobile coop, that putting it sort of in the middle of our meadow-like property was a good place. It was far away from each of the property lines. It could be moved around the yard, so we had sort of a grid plan for how we were going to move the mobile coop to keep it moving and the fertilizer moving and not piling up in one place. So we thought we had considered those things, but we didn't realize how swampy that portion of our yard got every year, because until we had the coop out there, we didn't have to traipse through that part of our property in the middle of winter or in cooler spring and fall months. So for us, we have clay soil, which does not drain very well when we have a lot of rain. So it gets very swampy, and when you're walking on it and you have chickens on it, it gets very, very muddy very quickly. And anybody who has ever had chickens in the Northeast will gladly tell you a tale about mud season.
Yes.
So we were not aware of mud season until we had our own experience with this. So for us, we found out very quickly that our yard became a swamp in that area. Walking on it, the chickens walking on it brought up the mud on top of the grass, and it was absolutely disgusting to walk through it, especially through the freeze-thaw constant cycle. In the wintertime, you could have worn hip waders on a regular basis just to go out and care for your chickens and to gather your eggs. Your boots would get sucked into the mud and you have to like yank them out, and it went from enjoyable to very unenjoyable for several months very quickly. And again, we realized this was something that we needed to consider for future coop purposes, was how we could work around this mud situation. So your property might be different, but if you have high and low areas, you have water that drains better in some places than others, you might want to consider, do you want the coop in sun or in shade, and you know, all kinds of things like that. Consider your property, consider the weather patterns that you have when choosing where and how to build your coop.
Mistake number 6. It was dealing with the distance from the house. The chicken coop being in the middle of the yard, we had to worry about how to deal with the chicken water bucket freezing. And so we had to run an extension line from the house to the water bucket. And if it got too far, you had to run multiple lines.
Yeah,
And
I think we had 2 or 3 lines running from the house to the bucket.
Yep. And so over the winter, you know, the extension line sinks into the ground and you're walking over it. But we didn't have any line
Dedicated,
closer.
yeah.
And so, yep, that was it. Running a line was a pain in the butt.
Yep, and then again, adding the mud situation into the story, traipsing through the long distance swamp and mud situation. The longer you have to walk through it, the worse it is.
Yeah, I mean, running the extension line, it's very important for the chickens to have water during winter. I did not want to run out every time with a fresh water bucket.
Yeah, warm water to defrost.
Yep.
And
so we had a water bucket set up, a system set up where the chickens could drink from the nipple on the buckets, and they were close enough inside the buckets that the water heater could keep it from freezing.
Okay, so we started off with a mobile coop that had a fully enclosed and protected run. And from there, once we realized some of our mistakes and issues, we adjusted to have a mobile coop a mostly enclosed run with an extended and protected free range area with the poultry fence. And from there, we then evolved to what is behind us now, which is our original coop, which is now made stationary with that original run cut off and a brand new large run with protection added. It's mostly enclosed. It is protected from aerial predators as well, but the chickens are able to come out into an extended free range protected area by the poultry fence. So kind of the best of all of those worlds, which came about because of all the mistakes that we previously talked about. With what we have now, we are much closer to our electrical source. So while we do still have to run an extension, it's not very far to keep the water defrosted in the winter. With our current run situation, while we are now stationary, we will not have the smell from a stationary coop because we are using this as a composting run. So we are throwing garden waste and food scraps and future wood chips in here to make our own compost with the chickens, which keeps the smell down. And it is also very easy to clean because we still have the original coop with both doors that open easily on the side to just like 1 or 2 brushes, get all of that litter out of there and quickly dump it into the composting run. So we are now on higher, drier ground as well where we are now, rather than having to push it through the muck and the mud, to traipse through the muck and the mud. So we have eliminated all of those issues that we originally had by moving to this.
Yeah, and if it
current
rains
situation.
consecutively over
We actually had
numerous days,
yeah,
it's okay.
we actually
We
had
want the water in there to
make the compost.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we actually had an entire week straight of rain and there was no pooling or ponding in there whatsoever. It soaked in, soaked up, and dried up pretty quickly. So that is pretty amazing. So now where we are, we're very happy with this situation. We dealt with all those problems that came up, but this is an ever evolving experiment with our chicken ecosystem. And so there's always going to be things to improve on, which brings us to our, wait, that's not it, number 7.
Yes, number 7.
Number 7 will be coming up very soon. One of the things that Tam is going to be working on perfecting is the roost bar situation inside of the coop. Optimizing.
I don't know if I can perfect it
Okay, wrong.
until we have a new
But that's your ultimate goal, is it not?
Yes.
So he's going to be working on that. We previously mentioned the drop-down door ramp situation taking up prime real estate. Now that we have a stationary coop, they could potentially come out the sides and still be protected within the run and within the free range area. But we're not at that place where we're ready to redo that whole situation. So with using what we already have, he's going to be working on perfecting or optimizing the real estate inside with adjusting the roost bar, and he'll get more into why he wants to do that and the details of it coming up in our next video.
Yes. So stay tuned. And if you found this video helpful, give us a like
And subscribe so you don't miss our next video.